All right, everybody. It is Monday night, and your favorite hosts of the Pride Rules MMA podcast are back to bring you another amazing show. We are on episode 81. Our 100th episode is creeping up nice and fast, and I cannot wait.
I'm excited for that.
Yes,
yeah,
yes. I can't wait. So before we begin, as always, we'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, the ones who keep the bills on, or the lights on, and pay the bills here at Pride Rules MMA. Shout out to 80K Fightwear, Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu, Madama Jiu-Jitsu, and our new family at Fightbook MMA. For those of you who want to call in, the phone number is 917-889-2676. That is 917-889-2676. I am your host, the Reverend Tommy D. Joined with me, finally, back in the producer's chair.
Yes.
My other host, the Latin sensation, who's taking Pride Rules MMA across the nation, El Professor Omar Sangarima. What is up, brother? How you been?
It's good to be back in Cleveland, but in upstate New York. It's the same thing. I saw that in the hotel the other day. Believeland? Holy shit. I basically live in the New York version of Cleveland. It's just all sad and rusted out up here. God damn it. We don't have good sports teams now. Fuck, we have the Bills. Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
Oh, man. Well, we had a pretty goddamn good weekend of fights, brother.
Oh, my Lord.
We did. I'm excited. Yes. I'm excited to jump into talking about that with you later on in the show. But right now, I want to touch on the big news that's going on in the UFC and MMA right now. It looks like the UFC is going Disney and teaming up with the
Disney
world. Yeah, they're going Disney. Teaming up with Disney and the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. Now, brother, I asked you to do your homework on this because you are as proficient as any human being I've ever met. So, Omar, this is your segment, brother. Roll on with it.
Well, so let's. I like to look at any big deal by the numbers. The first one that's going to jump right out at you is the $750 million number. That is, of course, not all in one shot, although WME would love it. That's over the course of 5 years, this partnership between the UFC and ESPN. As you said, Disney is the owner of ABC as well as ESPN. It's going to be for $150 million per year for 5 years. I don't know if there's any options towards the end of it. I couldn't find, if there's like any opt-in, opt-out, or if it's just a straight-up 5-year deal, and then we're going to renegotiate at the end of year 4/year 5. But $150 million is going to buy the new streaming service for ESPN, which is called ESPN Plus. It's going to buy them 15 cards, full cards, over the course of the year, which are going to be exclusively broadcast, at least at first, on the ESPN Plus streaming service. There is the possibility of dual casting, so obviously ESPN is shelling out $150 million for 15 shows. We can do the math. They're basically giving $10 million per event. That's how much, that's a cool number, a little bit that I was thinking of going, wow, okay, that's what we're going to be looking at, I guess, is what the market is setting itself as. So it's going to be about $10 million a show. They get rights to the show. They can broadcast it any which way they want to. But at first, I think what ESPN is going to be looking to do is to really give a shot in the arm to this new streaming service. Speaking of which, that new service is the ESPN Plus. I believe the price point that I was able to find is about $4.99. It gets you, it's sort of the Netflix for sports is what they're going to do. One thing, though, that I was trying to figure out. I get a little bit of a, I'm a nerd, as you said. You called it proficient, and I appreciate it. I'm kind of a geek, and I get this newsletter every week by a very, very smart man, Scott Galloway, and he's a professor down at the NYU Stern MBA school, right? So you got, the elite business folks there. And he was wondering why exactly Disney, after going after Fox and trying to sort that out, is not putting all of its eggs in one streaming basket. So something he called Disney Flicks. Now that's pertinent to our conversation here, Tommy, because ESPN Plus is going to be just one of the services, one of the branches that Disney's going to be trying to assail Amazon Prime and Netflix on. And I think that could potentially hurt this deal, or at least hurt the eyeballs that the UFC would get on. If you or I think, we'd be excited to be cord cutters if we could say, hey, I want ESPN, I want this, I want this, I want that, and then we could pay for that a little bit, kind of like what a Slingbox does. But that's not what Disney, the parent company for this entire media conglomerate, is going to be doing. So you're going to have to basically shell out for sure $5 for the ESPN Plus. I mean, depending on who they stock for cards in terms of fighters on this, it's going to be it could be a great value, could not be a great value. I'm not sure. I'm excited that it's going to be on ESPN Plus and ESPN Plus and Espanol. That was something that stuck out to me. And one of the resounding things that I was getting from all the research, and you could tell I definitely did do my homework. I'm very excited to talk about it. I have a lot of facts. I'm sorry. But this just puts a spotlight on how not much money the fighters are getting as a result of these deals. It's also interesting to note that this is part of a multi-sectional package that the UFC is looking to do. They were trying to go out and really grab the numbers I heard thrown around were about $300 to $400 million per year in terms of TV rights with a renegotiation. Of course, they've secured a piece of that at 150, and for that piece, they've said, here, listen, you're going to get 15 of our shows. So what they're doing is they're trying to, I don't know if they've inked that deal with Fox quite yet, but that's definitely in the works. They're going to re-up with Fox, and there's still the potential, depending on how much money the Fox deal gives them versus how big of a portion that it takes care of that, 400 to 450 million a year mark that they want to hit, that WME wants to get from the TV rights for this deal. We might get a third player in the ring. So we could very well see some shows on this ESPN Plus. We could see, we're going to more than likely see some shows on the Fox or Fox Sports, that family of networks. And then you're going to see potentially a third player in the ring, maybe Showtime, maybe, one of the big networks, who knows? Maybe, but I think there's still more to develop for this story, because bottom line, WME is really looking at this, I think, especially for the amount of time, right? Like the 5-year plan, quote unquote, the old school, Stalin got the 5-year plan back in the day. I don't know if WME sticks around and till the end of the 5 years, or at least at the end of the 5 years, they want to have taken a huge chunk out of that, $4 billion that they paid for this asset up front. So that is all that I could find. Your thoughts, Tommy?
Yeah,
I threw a lot at you. I'm sorry. You told me to do my homework, so I went.
No, dude, and that's beautiful, because a lot of things that people are bitching about. First of all, yes, in essence, the fights are free that you get now because you're not paying for review every time you're watching it on FS1 and FX. The prelims for this past fight this weekend, they were on the FX network because fucking NASCAR was on was on FS1.
FS1,
but,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you're still paying for it, because FS1 and FX, that doesn't come with a basic cable package. That comes with upper echelon packages. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you're still paying for it regardless. Now, the same people who are complaining also pay $10 a month for Fight Pass. So if this deal negates those fights being on Fight Pass, I could see the UFC dropping the price for Fight Pass because they have, Combate on there and Invicta and the EBIs. I could see them dropping that to $5 a month. Even if they do it like a Hulu, like $7.99 or whatever, just to give you a little bit of a break so you could have this ESPN package. I think what they're doing is they're spearheading what the future is going to be. I don't think it's going to be this basic cable anymore. Everything is going to eventually be app-based. Like, look at me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to have basic cable with Comcast, because if you want just internet, you get basic cable for free. Now, their basic cable package is basic fucking cable.
It's horrendous. It's worse than bunny ears. Like, bunny ears would get you more if you were ingenious.
But I have DirecTV Now for $20 a month. You know what comes with that? FS1, FXX,
bunch of
FX,
stuff. Yeah.
FS2. A bunch of stuff comes with it. And if you want HBO or whatever, it's an extra $5 a month. So you're still coming out ahead. The most expensive thing that you're going to pay for is your internet. You can't help that. That you can't help. So,
yeah, and who knows? June 11th, right? Might be a big, it might be a different landscape after net neutrality goes nuts. That's on the horizon.
Yeah, you have that as well. So I think as the app base is going to go, I think that's great. They can't put Fight Pass prelims or Fight Pass fights on this ESPN app because it's going to hit them right in the fucking face.
Yep.
They need to have marquee matchups on there. They need to. Yeah. Even if they're keeping the FS1 stuff, even if they're going to keep Fox on there, you got to have marquee matchups on both if you're trying to stray away from having a lot of pay-per-views. If they're still keeping with only having 6 pay-per-views or whatever a year, you got to make these cards on these 2 platforms big. You got to make them big.
Yes, you do.
And again, this isn't happening until 2019, so I'm sure things are going to be restructured, things are going to be flip-flopped, things are still going to be working out as it goes on. You know what I mean? So I think this is a step in the right direction.
They have to play with it to see what works.
Yeah.
That's what I said. ESPN Plus, I believe, will try first, maybe exclusive route to generate subscriptions. But then I think you're eventually going to see simulcast, ESPN Plus, ESPN, depending on what other programming they have. I believe you could see it trickle out, but at first, I think they're probably going to keep it pretty exclusive just to get you to click yes on trying the app, because they like you said, Tommy, they need the app to work. There was a great piece, I believe, in either it was the Atlantic or the New Yorker, a little bit back in the day, maybe 2 years ago, where it was kind of foretelling the death of ESPN as we know it, because of kind of internal infighting. Stuff at Bristol was going a little nutty, even with the influx of cash from Disney buying it, because so much of the packages that you see with cable are built around, and you dissected it perfectly. It's built around making you want get channels that you don't give a shit about in order to get the channels that you really do care about. So they would it's almost here's some bubble gum to make the medicine go down. You'd want ESPN, right? If you looked at channel lineups for stuff that you could get, they'd be well, I don't want this channel, I don't want that channel. Who the fuck cares about 17 types of fucking cooking channels? Personally, right? I have to get those to get the low tier ESPN. With cord cutters, people were already starting to be go fuck yourself. I'm going to get my sports somewhere else. Right? So this needs to work.
Well, here's another one for you. Here's another one for you. On that DirecTV Now, ESPN channels are on it.
See,
so
it's
this is
it's
you're saying, cut the cord.
Yeah.
And I have no satellite on my house. It's all streaming.
100%,
it's all
man.
streaming. But if we're going to keep on with if we're going to keep on with that trend, right? Let's say they want to keep Fight Pass, and they want to keep Fight Pass at that $10.99 or $9.99 price point that they have it. Well, with these pay-per-views that they have, it needs to come onto that app a lot faster than a month. There's no reason why 1 week later that
exactly.
fight that
That's
cannot
perfect.
be on that app. There's no reason why. I don't understand. It's not like,
boosting the app at
people
that
are
point, because
buying
you know what?
it. Yeah.
We all get it a week after if we really fucking want to anyway. We get it a day after if we really fucking want to anyway. Them
you get
waiting
it an
a month,
hour after.
Exactly. Them waiting a month is shooting themselves in the dick, and hurting their product. If they did it within a week, then you're spot on, Tommy. Imagine like a month where you get 2 of the pay-per-views. And, you're going, well, hold on. I'm paying $4.99 for ESPN Plus, and I'm getting a pretty decent amount of shows. Plus, I get to watch my soccer in Spanish the way you should. And then, why am I spending $9.99 on Fight Pass? I mean, I'm a fight nerd, so I could justify it. But, you're starting to do the calculus. And you're like, wait a second, I'm doing that. Then I got Netflix.
Yeah.
Then I got fucking this. Then I got that. If you give me, especially in those months where there's 2 pay-per-views, you give both of those bad boys to me a week after, where I can say, listen, I know the outcomes, I guess, but it's still kind of new enough where I'd like to watch the entirety of the fights. I would pay that $10 then. Then I'd pay for both of them. You're absolutely right, Tommy. That's a great idea.
It's bad enough that Fight Pass is heavily edited anyway between these fights.
Yeah.
You don't see the walkouts because of the music.
No.
So there's a lot of things that they cut out on it. At least give the fans that pay-per-view
exactly
a week after it comes out. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not making any more money off of that pay-per-view once it's done a fucking week later. There's no reason why it shouldn't be on that app a week later.
And you know what? I think with how everything's so quick, Tommy, you hit the nail on the head. With how everything's so quick, how we're all streaming, how we're getting everything almost instantaneously. What are you really cannibalizing that many fucking pay-per-view sales by saying 7 days later?
No.
You're telling me
Not
that there's people in this country that go, oh wow, I didn't catch that UFC last week, so I'm going to pay $60 a full 7 calendar days later to fuck, or 70 now, right? Depending if it's HD or whatever. Like, I'm gonna pay full price a week later. Go fuck yourself. If you do that, you need to go fucking fall off a cliff. I hate you. I'm not even apologetic at this point. A week later, to the UFC, you're not cannibalizing a fucking thing. I don't think so. Like, who, even on tape delay, even on wild tape delay, you're looking at potentially, because the earth is round. Fuck you, Richie Mack. You can go eat a dick. The earth is round, so you know what? Worst case scenario, it's maybe 24 to 36 hours that you're going to wait in order to figure out tape delay. Beyond that, what do you need, Tommy? What the fuck do you need? Come on.
Yeah, not when I could go on Bloody Elbow Sunday morning at 7 o'clock 100%. In the morning, and every single one of those fights is on there. And I'm not saying it like I'm not trying to rat out Bloody Elbow. Everybody knows what the hell it is. And you know what? They give a service to people. Yeah, they give a service to people who. I mean, $60-something for a pay-per-view. It's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Twice a fucking month, dude. That's like, a significant portion of my gas money, and I commute a ways away every week. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking crazy. You're doing wild
just
things.
Like our new partner Roberto just messaged me. He said that's why there are sites that have the full replay right after the pay-per-view fights. Why give the money to the UFC circus? And he's 100% right.
Absolutely.
You got to start doing more things for the fans. Yes, it's nice that you're giving us the app. You're going to give us fights on there, but you're not really doing us any favors if they are Fight Pass quality pay-per-views that they have on there. Like when you have
Absolutely.
the event in fucking Moscow of maybe one headliner that you see at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's not moving the needle. That's not.
And we love
the
fighting.
Needle.
The two of us are fighting fucking fanatics. We've done this for 81 episodes. We're going to do it for another fucking 581 down the road. And even the two of us, some of these events, we're both like, yo, like, come on, guys. Like, I like violence, but this is a little weak. And sometimes we're wrong.
I've watched one Fight Pass event. I've watched one. The Verdum one, where he just got utterly destroyed.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? The boomerang finally came back and hit him. But, like, I just don't get we're not geniuses. The UFC is a multi-billion at this point dollar conglomerate, entity, asset. There's got to be smart people at that end going, listen, yeah, I'm all about making $1, and you know what? I love capitalism as much as the next guy. There's got to be folks that see the writing on the wall. I think this deal is a little bit more towards that, where they're trying to get themselves into that internet live stream with a little bit more panache, with a little bit more fanfare, because they tried the WWE method of things, but there's got to be folks at fucking programming at UFC that go, well, wait a second, you know what? Like, we're not, what I'm trying to say is we're not just coming up with this and we're not the only people that can think this way, man. There's got to be people over there that are like, listen, you can get a little bit of money now, or we can generate enough goodwill that we'll get steady money for a longer amount of time. Which one would you rather do? Because, eventually they're going to keep raising pay-per-view prices. They're going to, it's just, there's no way they're going to go back down. You know what I mean? This is America. Generate some goodwill. Put some goodwill in the bank, right? And fucking put great fights on every platform that you can. Don't just say, hey, listen, it's in some country that's just grateful to have something to do other than punching goats in the mouth on a Saturday, and we're going to put shitty fucking fights out there. It's like, some of these cards, it's almost like, well, they should just be grateful for our presence. They're like the Kanye West of events. Our presence is a presence. Is a present, so kiss my ass. It's not the way, man. Like, come on. You want other people to pay $60 to watch fucking, two mid-tier fighters? And I respect all fighters, but you want 60 of my dollars? Give it to us in another way, man. You have to.
And Rob just messaged me making a point that I was just about to make before we close out this segment. Mm-hmm. I think UFC should. See, it's going to be kind of hard now with what they're doing with ESPN and still with Fox. I think these pay-per-views should just be on the app. You're paying $10 a month for this app. You're basically paying for a fight library of fights that you can get anywhere on the internet. You're paying for EBIs, which is cool, but then if they do the combat jiu-jitsu tournament, you're paying an extra $10 for that, or I think it was $20.
What about doing it that way? That's what I wanted to ask you. What if they ever did it that way, where it's like, okay, you pay $10.
I think it would be a smart thing.
Right?
I think it would be a smart thing to do. But, Dana White kind of laughed at Vince McMahon for doing it. Yeah, the WWE had it rough in the beginning. But with UFC, if you're putting your pay-per-views on Fight Pass and you're charging people that $10 a month, you're going to have a ton of downloads on that app. And you're going to make your money that way. Why? Because your advertisers are still on there. You still have your advertisers. So people are still going to see all that stuff. So, I mean, it might be something that they can lean to. I don't see Dana White doing it. I don't see WME doing it unless somebody brings them a full-on report of how much better the sales might be for advertising and, what kind of revenue they could see from more people buying the app. If someone can come up with that and give it to WME because they like money, it looks to me like they're, kind of losing money right now. So if that could be a way that they could make more money, somebody needs to bring that to them. So we're going to see what happens. Omar is going to keep his eye on the prize with this deal to keep us
my ear to the ground.
And all you
right.
fans.
I know you wanted to say it. I know you wanted to fucking say it. It's okay, Tommy. Come on. God bless you.
So
but
we
I know
can.
what
So
you
we
wanted
can.
to say.
Yes. Because here at Pride Rules MMA, we do not just talk about fights and make jokes. We like to actually bring you amazing content and coherent content. Yes. Not like with some of these guys that just think it's atrocious and it's taking away from the average fan, because it's not. It's actually leaning more towards the casual fan. But
they're trying to.
Let's jump.
They're trying to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's jump on to two. Yair Rodriguez was released from the UFC this past week because he turned down another fight. Now, listen, I understand he's a young and exciting upcoming fighter. I think the UFC did him wrong by sticking a rocket up his ass after going on a 5-fight win streak, which up until he fought BJ Penn, who hasn't won a fight since Christ was nailed to the fucking cross, the biggest name that he beat was Feely. That was the biggest name that he had beaten. They skyrocket him up to a fight against Frankie Edgar, actually thinking he was going to be Edgar, and Frankie Edgar just showed him how not ready he is for anybody. I don't even think he's ready for anybody in the top 8, let alone the top 3. So Zabit Magomed Sharipov challenged him to a fight months ago, back when I came on the show and said that this poor bastard is on Twitter begging the UFC for a fight. And not only was he was tagging the people that they were trying to get him a fight with, and all turned him down. They all turned him down. And Yair Rodriguez was one of them. So what happens? Zabit comes out, an amazing show, and he was hurt when he put on that amazing show. Publicly called out Yair to have a fight. Yair went on Twitter, I would love to fight you, blah, 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 blah. UFC offers him the fight. He turns it down. They offer him a Lamas fight. He turns it down. You are ranked number 11. You cannot be turning down fights because you don't make the company money yet. Yes, you have a huge Mexican fan base, which helps. That helps a lot. But how much is that fan base being helped when you're just sitting around after a year and you're looking for a tune-up fight? What tune-up fights do you see in that 145 division? I don't see any. And Omar, a lot of the big arguments were coming out, well, Conor gets to do whatever he wants to do, time off. Nate Diaz gets to do whatever he wants to do. Well, here's the difference. As much as I hate Conor, as much as I dislike Nate because of what he's doing, they could take a year or two off, and when they come back, the pay-per-view sales are going to be through the roof. Look at Brock Lesnar. Look at all the time Brock Lesnar took off. They brought him back for that UFC 200 card to save it, and they did a lot of pay-per-view buys.
He's an evergreen buy, though. Like he can leave for 5 years, and if he somehow comes back and remotely looks like what he used to look like, he'll sell. So yeah, I get what you're saying. But he's special.
But here's the thing with Nate. Nate Diaz realistically doesn't have to come back if he doesn't want to while he's still under contract, and here's why. Dana White was on UFC Unfiltered on Thursday's airing talking about Nate because they're trying to get this GSP fight, right? So, Matt and Jim both said, well, you've been offering Nate these fights and he's been turning them down. Came out and said, well, in his contract, every year, at the end of every year, if we don't have him a fight, he still gets paid. Now, I don't know if they pay him his show money, which that's what I'm thinking that they pay him. So I'm assuming the verbiage in the contract has nothing to do with whether or not he turns down fights, because they're honoring that contract. So he's still getting paid whether he's fighting or not. That is why nothing will happen to Nate Diaz unless they terminate his contract or cut him, which they're not going to do because he makes the company money.
Money, yes. At the end of the day.
Yair could have made the company money, but Frankie Edgar made him look amateur at best.
Yeah.
He made him look amateur at best.
That was the death knell, I believe, for the Yair Rodriguez hype train. Like, what you need, honestly, like, look at, and I know we're going to pivot down, obviously into talking about boxing a little bit, hopefully, in the later in the show. So I'll just tease it a little bit. Look at a fighter like Lomachenko. He's got almost the opposite problem, where he has tremendous skills and he's killing everybody. And, he had a perfect fight in terms of it was tough and he came back and blah, 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 right? But he's not exactly a marquee money grabber yet. But which would you rather have? That guy's skills, and then we can work on, getting him maybe a couple publicists, and some marketing geniuses behind him, and then make up the difference there, or this crazy hype train, and then just have giant holes in your game. Eventually, you're gonna get exposed, and I think Yair got exposed with Frankie, and what leverage did this kid think he had? to say no this often. I get why he did it, Tommy.
None.
But I get why he did it, because you know what? I think you and me know who Zabit is. A bunch of people do, more so now since his last fight, especially because he had such a willing and game opponent. That was the perfect opponent to have like as a coming out party. Right? That dude just kept on coming at Zabit. Zabit kept on throwing every fucking thing he possibly could. It was exciting. It was almost even better than just like icing him. It really was. Whereas like it was at least 3 rounds of fucking mayhem. So that was great. But you have a fighter that I believe is still sorely underranked. And more or less, I would say it was like a 75 to 80% chance that Yair was gonna get his money taken, if not higher. So it was a lose-lose. But then and you could tell that the UFC was getting pissed at this kid, because who's the other guy that they give him as, oh, you don't want to fight Zabit, go fuck yourself. Here's Lamas. Lamas is hard to look good against, and the people that do are deservedly on the short list for title shots, as they should be, because Lamas is the real deal Holyfield, right? And he's one of those, tough outs no matter what, right? He's gonna grind it out. He can hit, he can grapple, he has some submissions. Like it's hard to look good against him. So if you do, you punch your ticket to the next tier. So they're telling Yair, hey, listen, you didn't want Zabit. Okay, whatever. At least we're going to give you a higher ranked guy that if you do lose to him, like you probably would have lost against Zabit, you at least were losing against a higher ranked opponent. And he still said no.
Yeah.
What the fuck was he thinking?
Thing.
Like the Mexican fans, it's like boxing, but it's not enough like boxing where, you can live and die off of just having UFC's over. Like Canelo could just fight in Mexico for the rest of his career and keep getting popped for steroids apparently, but he could still fight in Mexico for the rest of his career and be a rich man. Nobody on the UFC roster can do that yet. It's just not there.
No, and here's my other thing with it, because I read a lot of reports saying Yair was saying he didn't want to fight somebody lower than him. Well, what does that say about Frankie Edgar, who took the fight with you, knowing that fight did absolutely nothing for him? You're talking about a jump. At the time, I mean, I don't know if Frankie was number 2. He might have been number 2. And you're an unranked guy.
I believe he was. I think he was number 2.
You just beat BJ Penn. That was your biggest win. And if you go on Tapology and, you look at BJ Penn.
A stiff win. A stiff win to beat BJ Penn right now. I think the Lava might have beaten BJ Penn. The Lava's 1-0 on Hawaii against BJ Penn right now.
You know what
I mean?
And
it's that slow moving. Like they're both slow. It's bad.
You're talking about Zabit, who's ranked number 13. He's ranked number 11. That fight makes sense, because that's a fight where the UFC could say, all right, well, you guys might actually be ranked. Either one
it's almost a guaranteed
would actually
loss,
be ranked
though.
in the top 10.
That's a guaranteed loss. And I get where he was coming from in terms of like, I want a bounce back fight. I want this, I want that. But guys, and you said this, and accuse you of being a homer all you want. Some people will give it to you, but you had an absolute point. He wasn't crying about, I think you said this off air, he wasn't crying about getting pushed through to the top when it was working in his favor, right? He wasn't like, oh man, the rankings, and oh man, I'm fighting a guy that's too high for me. When it was in his favor, this whole rankings thing, he wasn't crying about it, saying that it wasn't right and we have to do things differently. When it turned out to bite him in the ass, though, it's almost like, what it reminded me of, and it might be because, I'm in the midst of that process now. It's like when you lie on your resume and you get the job anyway, and you show up to work and you have a Frankie Edgar level problem that you have to figure out, but you don't have Frankie Edgar level skill. Like, it's like you're looking around and you're going, oh, it's like this?
And the thing is, he's young enough to where he could definitely get that. Now, I know there's 2 places that he could land. He could land in Combate, which is good if he lands in Combate, because he's still on the UFC's radar, because Combate has their stuff on Fight Pass.
Exactly.
So that could be good, so he can grow a little bit more. I know some people were saying that he's going to, Bellator might scoop him up. Here's the problem with Bellator, and this spins us off onto our topic of the fights that are coming up this weekend, or that we just passed this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes to Bellator, they're giving him Aaron Pico first, and
Pico,
that is going to be
like Kobayashi.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, Pico is a younger version of Frankie Edgar now.
Yeah.
Not when Frankie Edgar first came out. When he first came out, he definitely was just a one-dimensional wrestler with heavy hands, but he wasn't knocking people out. Aaron Pico is Frankie level now at 21 years old. That's a problem for him, and that would definitely hurt. That would definitely knock more of the shine off on him already. Bellator would not be a smart move.
It's 2018, Tommy, bro. Like, it's 2018. The time of being able to get by on one skill set, if not already long gone, it's in the twilight of its lifespan. Where are you going to go that you're going to really, really super dominate with one skill set and then still get paid what you think you want to get paid or what you think you deserve to get paid? Right? Combate would be a great training ground and a great proving ground, and it would at least give him like a paycheck, keep him on the radar for the UFC, and allow him to do what he does well while still getting like 3 or 4 training camps more under his belt to try to at least shore up that wrestling. But you're going to tell me deep down in your heart, Tommy, like, you think this guy can make up that sort of, like, with the grappling? I know he's young, but it seems so not his bag at this point, where it's like...
I mean, I always love when people say, oh, well, I don't understand. He's really good on the ground. And that very well may be, but I think we need to see it more. So Combate might be the best place for him. Like I said, he'll grow more, and it will keep him on the UFC's radar. So we'll see what happens with that, but I definitely think it's bullshit. Like, you can't take off a year and then turn down 3 fights when, you're not ranked, you haven't made the company money, and the one time the company gave you the opportunity to show what you got, and you fell flat on your face. And that's not saying that it wouldn't have happened to anybody, because, they put him in there against Frankie. Well, that was the equivalent of putting him in there against Max, or putting him in there against Ortega. You know what I mean? That the same thing was going to happen. He's not on their level yet. He's not there yet.
Wild. No, it's not.
But you don't get there by turning down fights. You don't get there by turning down fights with guys that are ranked right underneath you that also have a rising star.
Like, who knows? With that type of matchup, like, him and Sabit, like, with how wild it could have been, who knows, man? Something could have happened.
It would have been a great fight.
Would have been tremendous fight, but something could have happened. You don't tell me that something like wild, maybe. Like, you have to fight the fight. You play to win the games. Coach Herm, God bless you, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, there would have been a lot of Hail Mary shots, because Zabit just goes forward. Yair
he goes forward and he throws some wild business. It really looks like it's wild in terms of how it looks. I know it's very fundamentally sound, but I'm just saying, I don't think it was as bad as, I think the guy's confidence was just battered to shreds after his past couple out. It's just sad to see, man. I don't know. Maybe he'll bounce back. He's young.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's jump on to Bellator, because we were just talking about Aaron Pico. It was a pretty damn good event. I'm not going to lie. Aaron Pico with another body shot. Jesus
and it wasn't
Christ,
even a liver shot, guy. What the fuck?
No, he's the Rocky Balboa of Bellator.
Dude,
he
hit him in the nipple. He hit him right under his nipple. That's not even like a kill you body shot.
He just hits that hard, man.
That's what oh God, he must. He made him fucking do a somersault backwards, and I know he was trying to do some of that shinobi shit before. I was just like, yo, it's one of the few fights where, not few, I'm a sadist, so it's one of the many fights where I was like, yo, I wish we could have soccer kicks. Because any of that shit where you're doing a little somersaults and you're trying to be, the redneck ninja here, and oh man, if you could soccer kick, you'd end that shit real quick. You could absolutely end that shit real quick. I know it's a sensitive area.
Yeah,
I'm getting
the
told
kid's an animal.
that right under that area is a sensitive area, but not so much for the gentleman, and it shouldn't have killed a man the way that, I mean, Pico just must hit like a sack of bricks.
I wonder if he broke any ribs when he hit him like that.
He had to, or at least tugged on some intercostal muscles. There's some intercostals there that ain't where they should be. I think he rearranged a little bit. You know, I'm not up on my Grey's Anatomy. I'm a season behind, but fuck, man, he must have done it. Jesus Christ.
I don't know, and I can tell you this much: Bellator ain't gonna let him go. They're not gonna let him go. They're never going to, like UFC, I don't think is ever going to get him. UFC will never, ever get him as long as Scott
Coker, when the UFC is going to get him, if
right.
they ever do, in a co-promotion. And that'll never happen. So next question. You know what I mean? It's just it's like Pico's going to be flying that flag. And you know what? God bless him, because I think they'll never let him go, and they're going to pay him a fucking mint in order to keep him. Like, I don't feel they're going to try to be, wild dickhead status on negotiations with him. I just have a feeling. Like, Coker knows what he has there, and if they can just, keep him, cutting more promos like he did after this fight than what he's done before, I feel he's just maturing as an on-screen presence, as a person, as a man. He's a young kid, and of course as a fighter, dude. He didn't get sucked into the wildness, I don't think. He was controlling the fight almost in every aspect. When it was getting a little hairy, he said, "Hey, let me go down to this front headlock position, and the side, kind of top side turtle position. Let me figure things out. Oh, you want to get up and expose that? I'll take it. Boom, go to sleep." Dude, it was impressive. There was no part of that fight where I was like, "No, Pico's not winning." None.
Well, it's nice that actually continuing to just throw him in there. They're offering him fights and he's taking it on a consistent basis. And you know what? The way he's been fighting, he's not putting any miles on the body.
No, he's not.
He's not putting any miles on himself.
He might be putting more miles.
He's working harder in camp.
Yeah,
he's working harder in camp.
Brilliant
it's
minds,
unbelievable. But you know what? I'm excited to see what they're going to give him next. I think within the next two fights, you're going to see him go for a title shot. Now let's talk about. I mean, we don't have to talk long about it because it was a good fight. It was nice to see John Fitch get in there and get a win over Paul Daly, who's one of these guys I can't stomach. Cannot stomach Paul Daly.
I can't stomach that type of fight though. We both need antacids for different reasons. But that fight, Jesus fucking Christ, Fitch.
Yeah,
what type of
diet? I always
change
like
your
John
diet
Fitch.
again and become exciting.
I always liked him.
Like what?
I always liked John Fitch, but
I mean,
you know what?
I like John Fitch because I like the proletariat when I read about communist readings here. All right, when I read communist works, I like the working man. I love the blue collar. Give me the hammer and sickle. Until I get older. But for fuck's sake, man, it's just like we're even seeing like a low rent John Fitch, and John Fitch when he was John Fitch was a working man's GSP. So what the fuck are we seeing at this point right now? Is like an Airbnb GSP, like an Uber GSP in terms of, you rent them out for a little bit and it gets you where you want to go, but sometimes it's a terrible experience on the way there? Because this fight was abysmal. Come on. The best part was when Daly almost killed him at the end of the first round. Tommy, for fuck's sake. The fight was terrible.
Yeah,
I was embarrassed that I had people over for fuck's sake. Come on.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with Fitch. I get like for all the fights that he's been in and all the big name marquee dudes that he's fought, he's hanging on, but he's just going that friggin' just lay and pray defensive route. I mean, it'll make money for Bellator. It'll make money for Bellator because you know what?
They'll have 3 commercial breaks for sure. Because it's going to be definitely 3 rounds.
It's like you say, isn't it? Isn't it like you say? You stop it.
That's true.
Stop what he's doing.
At that point,
if you can't stop what he's doing, then it's his night and it's not yours. I don't think Scott Coker took him on name recognition alone.
For sure.
But hey, man, if it keeps getting John Fitch more wins, more power to him. You know, I love
He's got to
watching
change
John
that
Fitch on the
haircut,
ground
though.
when he's got.
He's got to change that because you know what? I'm like, come on. He looks like. I was telling my girl, like, yo, this dude marched down to the ring with a tiki torch yelling about blood and soil. Like, could you look more like a Charlottesville mangler than you did that evening, Mr. Fitch? And you know what my heart cries for? Because I know you've seen this grappling match, but my heart cries for the young children that haven't seen him versus Jake Shields when they were both on whatever supplements they needed to be.
What about the Maya fight?
Yeah, there you go too. You know, I was even kicking it back older when they were
That's
when
just what I was
Shields
going to
and
say to
Fitch
you.
were young. Fuck, man.
He's got some of the best defensive jiu-jitsu game. Like, his submission defense was unbelievable.
He beat Jake Shields in the grappling match.
Jake Shields couldn't catch him, Maya. Maya couldn't catch him either.
Yeah, and Maya is a goddamn boa constrictor, you know, on two legs. He walks upright, but you know, I think he sleeps on his stomach. But like, really, Fitch, like, it just hurts me. I think is where a lot of the venom comes from, because it was just a shitty fight. I wouldn't give this much of a shit. Like, okay, we've all seen shitty fights. It happens. Pride was full of them, and it's funny to look back on them and laugh when you see the commentators go, "Wow, it's like two insects fighting." It's funny still, but we both know what Fitch was, you know, and it just sucks to see that.
Well, I mean, maybe he'll have that resurgence with the right opponent. I mean, look, he's fighting a guy.
What if he starts eating umbilical cords? Like, if he starts frying umbilical cords and eating them for the stem cells? Like, what the fuck?
Maybe, considering the fact that he was fighting the guy who's probably got the ground skill of a 12-year-old in jiu-jitsu who's sporting a yellow belt.
There is a 17-year-old woman in my gym who could out-grapple Paul Daly right now. She's a purple belt. She's nasty.
I don't doubt it.
And she weighs maybe 120 pounds. She could choke the shit out of Paul Daly.
I don't doubt it. Well, let's round it off to the last one before we jump onto the UFC. I cannot say the gentleman's name because I don't feel like getting buzzed. But he knocked out King Mo in like 17 seconds. I mean, I think it's time Mo goes back down to middleweight and stops. I think it's time
Bader doesn't get buzzed. What do you think? Because he's being much more exciting. So. I'll agree, right?
So.
Let's agree. Okay, good.
We don't have our other member of the team, so he can go back to not getting buzzed. But I mean, look, dude, Bader is a guy who can be a heavyweight. He's a big dude. He is a big light heavyweight. King Mo's best years were at middleweight. That was when he was his best. You saw him go to the open weight and rising. You know, I'm sure when he fought Crow Cop, he was not 180-something pounds. He was probably rocking about what he's rocking about now.
And if he was in rising, he had a little chemical help. A little bit of chemical help. I'm just saying.
Maybe.
All right,
these guys are just too big for him. He's an amazing wrestler at middleweight. That's the wheelhouse he needs to keep in. Stop messing around with these heavyweights. And I'm going to say the same thing for Chael, with his Fedor fight that's coming up, because I don't see good things for Chael. I love Chael. I'm a huge Chael fan. I just think Fedor is going to be way too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has enough
grappling
way
too big
to negate it. Like, it's maybe like if they were both the same size and the level of grappling versus each other, right? Like the same grappling skill on both sides, and they were both the same size, I think Chael wins, because I think Chael has more, stand up, upright, and that's saying a lot, because Fedor is legit with those throws, as we saw against Frank Mir a little while ago. But the size plus enough of the grappling, Tommy, you know that, man. If a fucking ginormous blue belt really wants to take me for a ride, like, I'm gonna have to figure it out on the way down. I'll pack a fucking flight meal, some peanuts, and be like, okay, how can I choke this guy when we get to the ground? You know what I mean? Like, size does matter. It just does.
Well, Fedor figured it out against Kevin Randleman, didn't he? When he got dumped on his head.
Shit. Oh my God.
And still ended up what did he get him with a Kimura, right?
Yeah, he got him with one of the most vicious Kimuras too. It was almost like proportionate to, you tried to paralyze me, I have to break your shoulder now. So he gave him staff with that Kimura. It was slow acting.
Yeah.
But I think he gave him staff. That's how vicious that Kimura was.
That suplex was right along the same lines of Bob Sapp's pile driver against Nogueira in their first meeting.
Both of those were scary. Both of those were physically, even as lovers of violence, I think we both probably were like, oh boy, he might be dead. Like, bad. It was bad. Because Sapp was 9,000 pounds of G.I. Joe'd out fucking giant man. And he legit actually pulled off a pile driver on this poor bastard's neck, who, as a child, already got ran over by a goddamn army truck. So, when I hear about Nogueira, I fought through some injuries. I had some nagging injuries that I didn't tell anybody about. Did you have to tell us? Look at your career. Look at your life story. I'm surprised, he was held together by glue at the end of the day. God bless him.
Yeah. So that's, like you said, size definitely does matter. King Mo just needs to go back down. He needs to go back down.
I'm excited for that.
He could still do. Yeah, he can do great things at middleweight with Bellator. But
who's out there? Lima? Is that Lima at 185? But who's up?
You got Lima out there. You've got Rory.
Rory maybe. Oh,
Rory middleweight.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, he fights.
So
he goes up and down. He was even talking about being in the fucking open weight to shit. And Coker's like, calm down, child. Calm down. Jesus Christ.
Right. So we'll see what's going to go on with that. But let's jump on over to UFC. I mean, from the Fight Press prelims on, it was a great event. Olenek with another Ezekiel choke.
Imagine the squeeze.
I don't get it.
Dude,
I don't get it.
I was talking about this at work with my boy that he's a black belt at my gym, and we just happen to work together. And shout out to James, powerful James. And he's just like, how the fuck does that? And I'm like, he's got to have that sort of squeeze where it's not even like you're getting choked. It's one of those, you feel a little bit of it, and you're like, he might crush my neck. Like, legit, he might grind my vertebrae into dust. That's scary.
Well, first of all, the brass balls,
tap, right?
Yes, and the brass balls you gotta have, and he hit that from half guard.
He's
letting these guys get on top of him. Yes, he's letting these guys get on top of him, which is scary enough at the heavyweight division because it only takes one postured up punch to put your head through the mat, and he's just tapping these dudes out.
The confidence you have to have in that squeeze. So that's what I'm saying. He must know that his squeeze is frightening. You have to have a frightening level squeeze at the highest echelons of combat sports, where you're letting other trained killers mount you, basically, or half mount you, because that's what that's what top half guard is. It's a half mount, right? And you're getting up there, letting them go, and then you're squeezing them with chokes that you only really see, dude. I only remember this being done with a fucking gi in straight-up jiu-jitsu competition. Like Majid Hayes, his little baseball bat bullshit that kills people when they pass, into side control. Listeners, if you don't know, Magidhage. Look it up. It's insane, but it's also in a gi, and there's no punches being thrown. I only see that shit happen then. This guy's doing it with no gi in a match where you have a giant man trying to beat the shit out of you. And he's like, yeah. And he puts it on quick, Tommy. We're both grapplers, man. We know how fucking savage that choke is. He just gets his. All it takes is he gets his hand set, and then it's done.
And I don't even think he had the hand fully under the chin. It was just enough to completely cut it all off.
I feel like he was almost like balling his hand a little bit on the Adam's apple. I looked at it a bunch of times. I should probably say this, but I looked at it a bunch of times at work when I should have been working. But he had it the half blade of the hand looks like he tucked it under the chin a little bit, and then he just said, fuck it, I'm going to breathe in, brace my hand against my shoulder, squeeze the back of his head, and start praying to the Greek Orthodox or the Russian Orthodox God. And it worked. Good God, my Lord.
It sure did.
Crush.
I mean,
scary.
and that set off just a night of finishes in Brazil. This is another one of those pay-per-views that needed to deliver. And I mean, the pay-per-view, the FS1 prelims, they all delivered. Unfortunately, Carl Robertson came out on the wrong end of the fight. You're fighting a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. You're a stand-up fighter. I mean, Carl Robertson's got great submissions, as we saw in his first fight in the UFC, but the level of grappling just wasn't there.
Conte used to train with our boy there, right? With Vitor for a while. Like he's a high level guy. Like, a lot of people sleep on him. He's not. He's had a couple tough goes, which make him kind of be maybe a prelim guy more than he should be. But so it's what I'm trying to say is for Carl, like it's not. You didn't fight a slouch at all by any means.
No, and they were the main event of the FS1 prelim. So hopefully we see Carl bounce back quick. But you just brought the man's name up now. Curtain jerker for the pay-per-view. I know you weren't on the show last week, but when Tyler called in, me, Tyler, and Kareem, we were joking around. I said, wouldn't it be funny if Lyoto just took a page out of Anderson Silva's book and just front kicked him in the face? And that's exactly what happened. And you know what? Seeing Lyoto after he did that, when he just got down on his knees, made sure that he was okay, and was just basically paying homage to one of the biggest legends the sport has seen, I think it was great on Lyoto's point. I know Lyoto's still saying that, he wants to have one last run at the title. I don't really see it happening, but this was a big win for him. And I know Vitor says that, this is the last time he's fighting for the UFC, but he's not retired. I don't really know what he means by that. I don't know if that means he's going to Ryzen.
That's what it means.
He was being real cryptic. He was being real cryptic with, Matt Serra and Jim Norton when he was talking to them about it. I mean, obviously he's not going to say on the UFC's podcast that he's going to end up going to Japan, but I think it's definitely something that we can see.
He's still a champion, and he's a fucking class act at the end of the day. As wacky as he can be, sometimes with that Jesus ridiculousness, and the tattoos and the fucking, the head shaving, putting the fucking, the Nacimiento Jesus on his fucking head. He's a classy guy. He's a good guy. He's one of the greats in the sport for a reason. So he's not going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it sucked to see him go out like that, but you know what? I mean, it sucks, but that's the way most of these guys, if they're going to go out, that's the way they're going to go out. You're going out on your shield. I mean, the guy has nothing to apologize for. He's been in the sport for over 20 years.
Maybe that first
different
round.
Promotions.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still trying to be fair here. You might have to apologize for a little bit of that first round. I'm just, Vitor.
Well, it's that front. If Mr. Miyagi said it best, if done right, no can defend.
No can defend, dude. And have you seen? I know you've seen the side by sides, right? Like where and it's almost the same goddamn technique. And they get him to bite on the same thing. It's insane.
It's the same thing. I mean, hey, look, he knocked out Randy Couture's tooth with it. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's legit. Like some Saturday morning, I'm breaking 3 boards with the ball of my foot type shit. And you're a maestro for being able to land that in an MMA fight. It's crazy when you land it in just a stand-up fight, right? Like, come on.
But 12 to 6 elbows are not allowed.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I'd rather get hit with a 12 to 6 elbow than that fucking, belaying pin of a front kick. Sorry, but I'll take my chances.
Yeah.
Jeez. Come on.
So that, I mean, for the pay-per-view, that sparked off, I mean, another fight with John Lineker and Brian Kelleher. Now, I didn't know much about Kelleher. I was not giving him enough credit last week, just because it's John Lineker. But they put on one hell of a fight. I mean, Kelleher actually looked like he was getting ready to turn the tide. He was starting to land more on Lineker with some really hard shots, but oof. Lineker just put him out, man. I mean, Kelleher definitely belongs up in the top fighting these guys. He's definitely got a lot to prove. Even if he doesn't come out on top, the fight is exciting enough to get him another tough opponent. What'd you think, bud?
I'm just crazy, and I wonder how he weighed in at the weight limit with the meaty clackers that Mr. Kelleher obviously possesses for wading into a firefight. Probably one of the hardest hitters below 155 pounds in the form of John Lineker. Right? Like, there's people that train with him that are higher weight classes, and they're like, John Lineker hits like a fucking bus. Right? Brian Kelleher fully knows this, and he's like, fuck it, let's put on a show. You know? God bless him. Like, off of this, they should never have to buy or pay for drinks in Brazil ever again. Both of them, mind you. I know Lineker doesn't, but Brian should, just for showing that samurai spirit, man. That he didn't back down. He was game to engage. This is a fight that Lineker needed. He's had kind of an up and down. He made an attempt at the top of the mountain. He stumbled a little bit. This is a fight he needed. And holy shit, Brian Kelleher, because I'm not going to lie either. I'm not going to go hindsight. I would have said that. No, I would have said that Lineker was going to dust this motherfucker, within 2 rounds easy. And I would have been right there with you. But God bless him, man.
And it was not easy.
No, it was not. It was hard fought. Lineker even, I think, maybe I'm reading into this, and maybe this is hindsight acting a little bit against me, but Lineker, in some of those, walking back to his stool a couple times, he's, oh, okay, I'm in one now. Maybe he didn't even know about fucking Brian Kelleher, because I sure shit didn't. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was God.
Impressive.
It was a great fight.
I was grateful to watch it. Like, that's how good of a fight it was. I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad I'm a fan. This is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, Lineker's kind of been up and down, and that's kind of a division where you're going to be up and down. You look echelon of that
unless
division,
you turn down fights, and then you'll just be out. Right? Like, Lineker could have easily said no to a bunch of those fights back in the day, right? No? Yes, no? Like, or other people could have said, no, go fuck yourself, Lineker. And we would have been robbed. Like, Lineker could have feasibly been like, Brian who? No, thank you. Right? And we would have been robbed of this majestic display of fisticuffs and in a mixed martial arts setting. Come on, man. Come back.
You're right, man. And you know what? Speaking of somebody who should be out of their division.
Oh, boy.
We're gonna jump on over to the next fight where.
Oh, boy.
Big ups.
Where's the sexy saxophone music? I need that as a.
Yeah.
Fucking, like, I come on, man. Good Lord, Mackenzie.
Big ups
to
Amanda Bobby Cooper for still taking the fight. When Mackenzie Dern stepped on there at 7 pounds over. Now, here's my thing. She was 7 pounds over for the weigh-in. How much do you think she weighed on Saturday? I'm guessing at least in the 130s.
I know. I'm going to go higher.
At best.
I'm going to see you and raise you into the 140s easily.
Because this was the point that I brought up last night with Steve, and I've said this on social media as well. Yes, she hit her with a flush overhand, but if she didn't have all that extra weight behind it, I don't think she was putting Cooper on her ass the way that she did.
I don't think she was putting Cooper on her ass the way she did. And you know what? At the end of the day, the reason why we have fucking weight classes, Tommy, is so that at the very least we start on an even playing field. That's what it is. We all, whether you cut better than the other person, whether you rehydrate better than the other person, whether you're just, your body physiology is such that you just love the process and you're able to bounce back and be a fucking animal the next day, whatever. That's all well and good. But the reason why we have weight classes in this sport, aside from the rules being what they are, is we want everybody to start from the same place. They both get off the scale They weigh what they weigh, and then you figure out whatever voodoo you can do to do the thing you do so well, which is hopefully win. It's enough, man. I love Mackenzie Dern to death. We both do. She's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. She's made a great transition, relatively speaking, for somebody.
That's where it ends for me. At this point, that's where it ends for me. She's just a great jiu-jitsu practitioner. She's not a professional athlete.
No,
that's not a professional athlete to me.
You're right.
She's made weight twice in her whole fucking career.
And it's the thing is she was even not making weight or like fluctuating weight divisions towards the tail end of her jiu-jitsu tenure. Remember that? Like her and Tanquinho had like I don't, and I'm not going to begrudge anybody for eating their face off after a bad breakup. I'm going to be the first one to say that that's something that can be done. A little, some Ben and Jerry's can make the pain go away. I get it, but if you're going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to be this weight on this day, and then we're going to do X, Y, Z, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's with a gi, no gi, whether we're going to put on big gloves, little gloves, kickbox, MMA, whatever. I say I'm going to be this weight on this day, and then we're gonna fight. That's what I'm going to do. You're absolutely right, Tommy. Not a professional. And you're not,
and you know
really,
what? And like I said, big ups to Cooper for taking the fight because she said, she's not getting out of this fight that easy with me. If it were me, I would have said, nah, fuck you.
Mm-mm.
I'm not fighting you. I came in on weight. You're 7 pounds over. I want to embarrass you in front of the people that you're pretending to be. You're pretending to be a Brazilian. You're pretending to be someone who somehow doesn't.
That's a big thing, too. Like, why the fuck does this lady need a translator? Thomas, what the hell is going on? I don't understand.
Why does she speak with a Portuguese accent?
No, she's a Valley girl, for fuck's sake.
Arizona.
Yeah, she's from exactly. She's out there like, Megaton is her dad, but, I don't sound like some wild Ecuadorian Indian dude. That was my dad. Maybe it slips out sometimes if, I've had some adult sodas. But I try to keep it in check. I don't speak with a fucking translator, Tommy. Like, what are you doing, baby girl? What did you do?
No. I would have been embarrassed her. Like, nope. I came in on weight. You didn't. You screwed this fight over for all these Brazilian fans.
You know what I love?
You're not a professional.
Tommy? She takes off the shorts and is like you're 7 pounds overweight. Remember when Mayhem Miller was 22 pounds over?
Yeah.
And he gets on the scale. He's like, oh, shit, 22 pounds. He takes off his shorts like, wait, guys, I got this. And he gets back on the scale. It's like, Mackenzie, you're 7 pounds overweight. You're just taking the shorts off so that, you have a good photo op because you're trying to, parlay sex appeal into relevancy at this point. Yes, you can grapple, but, come on, man. And then she's trying to say, I'm ashamed now. Like, you've seen all the post-fight stuff, right? I'm ashamed I missed the cut,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
She's ashamed,
no.
But how many times has she done this?
Ashamed is one thing, like,
well,
if it happens one time. Fuck yourself.
Here's a better question. Maybe you could answer this easier. How many times has she made weight?
Like, once or twice, at best. At best, Tommy. In the past 5 years.
That's an easier way to answer it.
I think, yeah. Right? Because she's made weight less times than she's not made weight. And she's more consistent for missing weight. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're going to be that far over, bro, like, just fight at the next weight class. Isn't our next guy up the card? Didn't he get his pee-pee slap for that same reason?
Yep. And you know what's really funny? I'm gonna have to send this to you in chat. Roberto just sent me a meme of Mackenzie Dern. It's a Big Mac box. The Big Mac Dern extra thick.
It's the truth. And you know what? I'm not trying to fat shame a goddamn soul, but you know what? Be a pro. Be a professional.
Dude, it's not fat shaming. You know what it is? It's you're not a professional.
No.
You should. Everybody's saying, "Oh, well, she has the ability to go to the UFC training center." No, she needs a nutritionist like Lutrition.
Yeah.
Being right where she is at all times, making sure she's eating the right food, eating the right way, cutting the right way, so it's not that tough of a cut for her. My thought process is if you've made the weight repeatedly, have made the weight, then it can be done, and it can be done healthy. But if you're last-minute cutting because you have no discipline, and I'm not saying I'm body beautiful, but when I've had to cut weight, I've had to cut weight, and I wasn't eating whatever the hell I wanted to, and I wasn't coming in on the scale beefy. I've never missed weight in jiu-jitsu. I've never missed weight in high school wrestling.
If I say something, if you or I sign something or give a verbal commitment and go, we're going to be this weight at this day, right? Regardless of how rough and tumble it's going to be, right? And we've shared war stories about horrendous cuts. We make the weight. Right, because it's at that point. Some of it is self-pride and this, that, and the third. And I think you'll agree with me here. Some of it is just respect for your opponent. Like, listen, man, respect for the sport. Respect for the competition, and the event that you're going to be taking a part of. I think there's that brotherhood.
It's sport, and it's respect for your coworkers. They all made weight. Why do you get to eat whatever the fuck you want? Because your name is Mackenzie Dern and you're popular in Brazil? That's
it's
what
coworkers.
it is?
You're saying it the right way to convey.
Yeah.
I think.
That's why if I was Cooper, I would have been like, nah, I ain't fighting you. I ain't fighting you. 7 pounds? Nah, I ain't fighting you. Because that would have made Mackenzie Dern look bad.
She's a gangster for doing it. And she called it, too. I mean, she called it, though, too. Like, she really did. I think some of the pre-fight was her really being like, let's see if she makes weight, like, in a roundabouts way. And she was right. And I just think, like, you're right with the weight. And I just think also you didn't have to go through the hellacious last sets of pounds. Because not for nothing, Tommy, right? She was 7 pounds over. It's not exactly like she looked amazing in the face either. Like, she still did look like she went through some hardship. So it's like, I think she got to that wall where a pro says, okay, we got to do some dire straits. I fucked myself to put myself in this position. We're going to have to do something wild, right? And she said no.
It's either get a nutritionist, get a nutritionist to learn how to eat healthy, and exactly. If you're not going to get the nutritionist and you want to eat, fine. Move up. If she misses weight when she moves up, then she's just a complete unprofessional fighter.
At that point,
does
she's
not
just
deserve what she needs to be.
We got a word in Spanish for that. What it's called? It's called you're an asshole. If you move up in weight and you're still missing weight.
I thought that was French.
No, hey, romance languages being what they are, but come on, guy. Like, Mackenzie, and you know what? Again, I'm telling you, we're gonna have to give him like a correspondent credit here. But James, my coworker, brought up something awesome. He's like, "Yo, she had some friction at the camp, the jiu-jitsu fight camp she used to be at when she was just straight jiu-jitsu. There was some friction there because she was one of those where it's like her skill was such that she didn't have to try as hard. You know what I mean? You get where I'm going with this because we're seeing the results now. She was a little. She dogged it a little bit, and there was other people in the fight camp, in the I don't want to say fight camp, in the jiu-jitsu gym, that were like, hey man, she's not doing all the workouts we're doing. She's not doing the, she's trying to coast by. We're seeing it, man. You reap what you sow, Mackenzie. I hate to say it, but come on.
Well, we'll see where they go from that. Obviously, once she gets on top of you, forget it. It's over. Let's not forget about the weight. But you're talking about some of the best jiu-jitsu in the world. Once it hit the ground for how rocked Amanda was, it was going to be a short night. But I can't even be excited about the win because it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's like a null.
Yes,
it's like a
Amanda,
null value.
All the props in the world to you, Amanda, for saying, fuck it. Like, I'm fighting her. I don't care. She should have just said no to make Dern look bad. You know what I mean? And actually light a fire under her ass to stop missing weight, because not only would she have missed weight for the UFC, she would have been missing it on a fight that she wanted to beat, or a fight card that she wanted to be on because it was in Brazil. So, you touched on this before. Let's jump onto it now because you are amazing at segues. Another guy who used to have problems making weight for welterweight decided to jump up to middleweight, and people were not sure, including me, was not sure if he was going to be able to hang with these middleweights because he's not a big dude. Kelvin Gastelum put on an amazing fight with a guy who everybody was thinking should be in title contention in Jacare and beat him on his home turf. What did you think of the fight, bro?
I want to know who in their right mind gave any of that fight, not any of it, but made that decision a split decision. What the hell's going on here? Where's the envelope?
It was
right? How much
in
acai
Brazil,
was delivered?
bro.
Well, how much acai was delivered to that judge's house? And by acai, I mean
I think
cold hard
honestly,
cash.
I think that Kelvin is lucky that the fans in Brazil love him, and I think the commission owed him, that win and didn't rob him like a lot of people thought that they would do because Jacare is one of their favorite sons.
Jacare's
I don't
a
think it was a split decision. Yes.
No, it wasn't.
I don't
and
think
it
it was
wasn't
a split decision. I think Kelvin definitely won that. But you know what? The result came out fine.
Thank God.
It came out where it was supposed to come out.
One of those weird times, where.
And it's just like I said to Tyler, last week when he came on the show, I was like, it's like these big contracts that these Brazilian legends sign, like with Anderson Silva. The minute they ink those contracts, it's like the piano drops because he's,
You're right, dude.
You know what I mean? His last fight. His last fight he fought Derek Brunson and he head kicked him to death. I like Derek Brunson a lot. I don't think he's on Jacare's level.
I'm not putting him on the team to fight Thanos. I'm not putting Derek Brunson, on the Infinity Gauntlet retrieval.
And I
squad.
like Derek Brunson. I
Me
like
too.
Derek Brunson a lot. He's a tough dude.
I love him a lot. If he wants to come on the show, I'll take him and I'll eat my words. But right now, he's like a B level Avenger. He's one of the guys that dies off screen. In the movie, like you're
talking about Jacare, who I ain't even to say he came up short against Robert Whittaker. He got his ass beat.
Oh, by
Robert Whittaker.
He got his shit rocked by
and
Bobby
he lost
Knuckles.
to Kelvin, and he lost to Kelvin. Two guys that people say are undersized for the middleweight division. So
the middleweight division is a weird place that's why I think what you said earlier in the show, Tommy, was perfect with King Mo coming down to it. Like 185 is an odd spot where it's like a crossroads for a bunch of folks, and you'll get some weird body types that will do some absolute work in the division, and then you'll see some body types that you're like, okay, that's definitely going to work, and it doesn't. And they should just move on or down. A.K.A. Luke Rockhold, but
185 is weird because you got the power of a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And the cardio of a welterweight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's most guys.
Tremendous. It's the hardest weight class for me to do work in the UFC game. That's my scientific reason in terms of I was like, Jesus, these guys are fighting for keeps here, man. I'm gonna start at 205 and work up. Fuck it. But
so what do you think is next for Kelvin?
Well, I've started to see some reports. I've seen some reports where he's like, I'm not taking another fight that's not a title fight. So, if he sticks by his guns, I don't think I don't think that's completely unfair to anybody. I think, and the main basis for that is that I think he would put a good show on. So it's like, whereas somebody else, right? Like somebody else that said that and might be a little early and be like, go fuck yourself. But I think Kelvin would give anybody who's holding that title a tough go and would be a great fight. And I think he's just young enough where, like, if he loses a title fight, he can still have a long career making his way back up the mountain. But if he gets it, this might, catapult him into some stratosphere where, he's going to be the champion and stay the champion. He's a great age. Why not, man? Who else are they going to give the fucking a title shot to? Bisping is 9,000 years old, and he's already said that, he wants to potentially probably fight Maybe like I've heard he wants to fight somebody at 205, or potentially Rockhold if Rockhold gets the title.
He wants to fight Rockhold at 205. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what?
Yeah.
Let him do that. Kelvin, I think, has put together quite a resume. And what's exciting to me, man, is what if he wins the 185 belt and then he says, "Okay, Dana, fuck it, finally, I'm gonna say no to the Takis and fucking." Maybe do a 170-pound, super fight, so he can be a champ. Calvin has the ability to make that happen, man, and hold on to both.
He does,
yeah.
But I don't think Kelvin, I mean, as we've seen already, I don't think Kelvin gets past Chris Weidman.
Yeah. That's a big one. I mean, you know what he'll do if he's smart? He'll try to wait Weidman out. You know where I'm going with that. I hate to say it, but you got to say I'm not that far off. Like he's just going to see Father Time.
I don't think Kelvin will. Kelvin will want to try and get that win back, and if when Chris comes back from his issue, he hasn't said that he is.
Really?
He hasn't said that he is. What? I mean, I know he's dealing with some shit with his hand right now. So when he comes back, I mean, that might be something that we could talk about. But that will be somewhere down the line. So
wherever Chris wants to fight, he gets to fight. Fuck it.
Exactly. Brother, this headline, holy beanbags.
My lord.
I mean, is Amanda Nunes not proving that, all of our preconceived notions of her before with, pulling out because of the nose problem, which doesn't seem to be a problem anymore, her cardio being a problem, she is just negating all of that, and she put on a fucking brutal clinic against Rocky. I mean, holy hell. And she's thus proving that the fight between her and Cyborg has to happen sooner rather than later. There is nobody else. It needs to happen. It needs to. Because, I mean, she broke that poor girl's face.
Yeah.
I read reports saying that she had 7 facial fractures.
I could see that. I could see her face looking like the top. Remember how, the male Cyborg's skull looked? I bet you if we got the same imaging done of Raquel Pennington's face, it's going to look similar to that, and I hate to see that. But holy shit,
Yeah, no,
man.
That was bad. I mean, her nose was just gushing blood. I don't know how she was breathing. I know her corner's been getting a lot of shit, and I've been hearing it from both sides. And both sides have points. They do. Here's my thing. Mario Yamasaki just got let go of his duties with the UFC from the commission. Now, I mean, everybody's like, well, how can you fire a ref? Well, he hasn't been back in octagon since it happened, and I don't think he will be.
He's too busy on Twitter, right?
He's going to Big John McCarthy's reffing school to kind of brush up on some things. But
good.
His big thing was getting bitched out for that last time when he said, I'm letting the girl be a warrior. I'm letting her go out on her shield. So if he's catching shit for that, wasn't Raquel Pennington telling her corner she really can't go out? She can't do it. She wanted to stop.
I mean, the biggest difference
back out there.
I see what you're saying, but one of the biggest, and I was mulling this over a lot, but one of the things, the difference there is her corner knows her. Her corner's been in the gym with her. Her corner has really, they've gone every step of the way. And maybe the corner knows something about Rocky that we don't. Maybe there's some days, I can remember a couple of jiu-jitsu events, where I would pull out something and pull out a win and then be really, really tired and I'd be like, yo, man, I think, I'm going to go for that silver. Man, I'm just done. I'm dead. My coach took me aside, slapped the shit out of me, said, hey, no, you're going back out there. And I won some and I lost some, but I'm always excited that I went out there. And I know there's no face beating. I know there's a huge difference. I get that, Tommy, but her corner knows her, and there's that bond. And hasn't she come out now or she came out in the post fight and was like, "I'm glad my corner, kind of put me out there."
No, I understand that. But why are people so inept to go after a referee for that when a corner's doing the same thing? Now, look, dude, I could understand if it was back and forth and parts, and she was making a head charge. She was getting beat from pillar to post from the first bell. She got dropped with a fucking calf kick the first 13 seconds of the fight.
Oh, it looked like a subway mugging. For the entire fight,
bad.
It looked like you pissed off a hobo on the New York City subway, and that was, just minding her own business and taking a shit in the corner, and you made eye contact, and she pulled up her drawers and then came out and punched you repeatedly in the face. And yes, I've seen this happen. That's how I have that story in the chamber to bring out. But Amanda Nunes fucking just is a destroyer of worlds at that weight. But even that, I'm telling you, like the ref has that discretion, and if he wants to exercise it, he can. But there's a bit more of a intimate relationship between a corner and a fighter, where they know each other. The corner knows that fighter a lot better than the referee does. And if the ref's not intervening and using their I was going to say jurisprudence, but they're not a fucking judge, but their judgment, I should say, then it's on the corner. And if the corner's like, hey, listen, we know our fighter, we're gonna keep with it. It was heartbreaking to see. There was, and let me tell you, Tommy, like in her corner, even having known her as a warrior and seen her maybe have a couple of mental whatevers, you're absolutely right, Tommy. She shouldn't have come out. Like, I agree with you there fully. She should not have come out for that fifth round. There's nothing she was going to do short of, having like a fucking bat thrown in and hitting her in the head with it. Nothing was going to change the outcome of that fight. She went in for that fifth round to just get more of a beating. Right? It was 3.5 more minutes, or whatever.
Yeah, it was
2.5 more minutes of a beating, a mauling, right? But her corner knows her, and the ref doesn't. That's why Mario's gonna catch shit, and her corner, I think, not off the hook, because I don't think her corner cares what's being said, and neither does Rocky. But,
and like guys like Dean Thomas had come out and were like, I see nothing wrong with what their corner did. And look, you're talking about a guy who is not only a fighter, but he's also in a corner. So that's why I said both sides, they have good points. It's not really a hill to die on. It's just last night it proved that there's nobody in that division beating Nunes. I understand. Kat Zingano had a come from behind win against her, but that was a long time ago. Amanda Nunes was a different fighter then, and I don't think you get that same outcome.
Kat doesn't beat her now. Kat's a different fighter now too, and I hate to say this, but I don't think she's as good as she used to be for whatever reason. I don't think so. Maybe her next outing will prove me wrong. Right? Yeah, exactly. Time's a motherfucker. Time waits for nobody. I think her Amanda Nunes' star is going one way, the plus the green arrow going up, and Kat, I love her to death, but that red arrow is going down. If I was picking stocks here, I hate to say it, another time, another world, another set of circumstances, she could have been a champion with that performance against Nunes, but who knows? We're not going to see it again, and if we see it again, I think Nunes destroys her. Nunes kills her.
No, the only thing that we need to see is Nunes and Cyborg. It needs to happen, and it has to happen soon.
Please.
International Fight Week is coming up. Make it happen. They both won their fights. The clock is ticking on Cyborg because she's talking about boxing after the UFC. So if the clock is ticking, and who knows, make this fight happen now.
Having children too, dude. Like, not for nothing, right? She's made mention of that, and I'm not trying to be sexist, but she's made mention of that in some interviews where she's like, eventually I do want to start family. So fuck it, man.
Well, brother, we will see what happens. Well, hey, man, listen, this was a terrific show. If we can get another show in this week, we will, to talk some more stuff out. If not, we will see you guys again on Monday night. But this was a great show, man. I'm happy to have you back. Shout out to our sponsors, 80K Fightwear, Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu, Madama Jiu-Jitsu, 2 Minute Warning Sports 360, and our buddy Rob over there, and the whole crew over at our new partners, Fightbook MMA. It's going to be a big year coming up. I'm excited. Buddy, great show, man. Great
Excellent show.
Great to have you back, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. So, like I said, hopefully if we can get another show out of it this week, we will. If not, we will see you guys again on Monday night. We don't have a guest lined up yet, but that doesn't matter because no matter what, we always bring you a great show. So for El Professor Omar Sangarima, I am the Reverend Tommy D. We are Pride Rules Podcast. Good night.